Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? Yes, it's Thursday. Yes, it's the podcast. Are you well? Are you warm? Have you done your Christmas shopping? Or are you, like me, a little bit behind on everything and just getting over a stinky old cold, as you can hear? Right, first off, a massive, massive thank you to everybody who responded to Sophie Thompson's episode last week. I mean, she's just a beautiful human being inside and out. And I'm so thrilled that she came on, and I'm so chuffed that you responded to it. She's just a joy. She's so lovely, isn't she? This week is episode 107, and we go to Manchester to sit down with postman turned stand-up comedian Chris Washington. It's a really fun episode. He's just brilliant. It's really great to sit down and get to know him a bit better. So I really hope you enjoy. I am going to keep this short and sweet, but I do want to say, if you're in the UK, I'm not going to get all political, but it is Thursday today. Please use your vote and use it wisely. If you're going to be tactical, be tactical. Just do the right thing. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, look, I'll get off my soapbox now, and I'm going to go and have a hot drink to sort my throat out. And you don't want to be hearing me do this. You want to hear the episode. So this is it. This is episode 107 of the Two Shot Podcast with the brilliant Chris Washington. Enjoy. I'll see you at the end.
In Blackpool.
Still together?
Yeah.
Oh, lucky.
I was going to I proposed last year.
All right.
Are we recording?
Unless you don't want this recorded.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Carry on. Tell me more about Blackpool, Chris.
So we had our first date in Blackpool, and then...
What do you do on a first date in Blackpool? Don't say Louis Two Swords. Have you been to Louis Two Swords?
No.
It was voted
I've seen pictures of it.
The worst visitor attraction in the UK. I think, don't quote me on that, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I find waxwork museums odd at the best of times. I mean, I don't know why. Let's go and have my photo taken with Rod Stewart here as a waxwork. I don't get it. I don't understand the point. But still, there's queues outside Madame Two Swords in London when you go past, isn't there? But yeah, Louis Two Swords was laughably bad.
I've seen pictures of it.
If you listen to this now and you don't know what I'm talking about, go and Google Louis Two Swords and see some of the absolute atrocities that are there that are supposed to be. Oh, look, there's Ant and Dec. Is it? It was French and Saunders. What's going on? It's ridiculous.
That's great.
So what did you get up to in Blackpool?
We just went Pleasure Beach. Like Becky, my girlfriend, she loves Blackpool. And I was like, I'd fancied her for ages then. I was like, she never really gave me time of day or anything. And then... one night, she must have just been in a good mood, and we was at this party, and...
Lucky for you.
Yeah, and I was like, right, let me take you out, and I'll go anywhere you want tomorrow, whatever you want. And she went, right, we'll go Blackpool in the morning. I was like, right, okay. And I thought, I wonder if... And then I woke up, and she gave me a number, and I was like, I wonder if she's like... because I hadn't really spoke to her. I'd kind of like fancied her and like spoke to her a bit, but I think she thought I was a bit of a knobhead, like, because one of my friends went out with one of her friends and kind of knew each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I texted her, said, do you still want to go to Blackpool? And then she was like, yeah, pick me up in like at half 10. We went to Pleasure Beach and that, and then we was inseparable for ages. After that, I got a good day.
Yeah.
And we got together and what have you. This is February 2011, I think.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Feb 2011. Yeah, and then last year I proposed, and I thought I would do it in Blackpool.
Smooth.
And I'll make it like our first date. We'll go like. And I'll do it like make it look like it was a bit like a spur of the moment. I'll book the night off or whatever. Go Blackpool and I'll park in the same spot. We'll go Pleasure Beach. And then I got out the car in Blackpool, and I don't know what it was like. Whether it was like all the sunshine and rainbows on that day when we first got together. I just completely forgot how much of a shithole Blackpool is. So I thought I can't do it here. So we went round the Pleasure Beach. I had this ring in my pocket all day. And then I thought, shit. Like, what was I thinking, Blackpool, man?
What were you thinking?
Outside that flipping fortune teller with a picture of Tyrone Dobbs on the front. We went I went on booking.com, booked an hotel. I said, let's go Lake District. Went to Lake Windermere and I did it there. She said, yeah, and getting married in February now.
Congratulations, man. That's a beautiful place to do it, Windermere.
Yeah,
that's more like
that
it.
That was good, yeah.
Because she's going to remember it.
Yeah.
And the last
totally.
thing you want is, behind the laughing clown at the Pleasure Beach.
And weirdly, right, someone who Becky works with give her a painting, and it was called Love by the Lake. And I'm not kidding. It's a man and a woman, and they've got the back to the lake with loads of love arts and a picture of Lake Windermere, and it looks like me. It looks like it's been painted of me and Becky.
No
do you know
way.
What I mean? We've got it up in our dining room at home, and it's just a picture which was like, that's crazy that someone's painted that, and it looks like the exact spot where I did it as well. I remember shitting myself and waiting for all these dog walkers to walk past and kids who were jumping in the lake and stuff. And I thought, oh Christ, do you know what I mean? And then I got down one day and I think the first words out of my mouth were, I am fucking shitting myself, please don't say no. The rest is history, as you say. So yeah. 2 sugars would be great, please.
2 sachets, 3 sachets.
Go 2 sachets, because I've been trying 1 recently because people keep giving me funny looks when I have 2 sugars.
Do they?
But then I tell them, like, a can of Coke's got 6 tablespoons, someone told me. So
Yeah.
Don't judge.
I had a builder a few years ago when I asked him how many sugars in his tea. 6.
6, yeah.
6.
That's like a myth, isn't it? But I always think when when you go to these, like...
Heaped.
Yeah. When you go to meetings in London with, like, fucking whoever, like people who are not from the same background. I always think about just saying that when they offer me a drink. How many sugars? 9, please. And just not bat an eyelid to see what they do. It's just what they expect with my accent. Yeah, 9 sugars, that'll do. Can I have 12 biscuits as well, please? Yeah.
Do you feel that people have an expectation because of where you're from and your accent? And I'm not just talking about the stand-up world. I'm just talking about in everyday life as well.
Do you know what I think sometimes?
What?
I think when you talk like me, sometimes...
Or me.
Yeah, or you. Yeah. I think sometimes people, and I don't have like a chip on my shoulder about this, but I think sometimes people think you're a little bit thicker than you are. Do you know what I mean? And people will be there's just a bit of a preconceived, like my voicemail is like, hello, you're through to Chris Washington's voicemail, leave a message. And honest to God, the amount of voicemails I have where people, the first part of the voicemail is someone going, hello, Chris Washington, I'm just leaving you a message. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I don't know, not hugely, but it's one of them, and it's like Wigan and Blackpool is the places where people take the mick out of them a bit, don't they? And they're like, but I totally love where I'm from. I love it to bits. Like I wouldn't change anything about where I live or where I've grew up or the kind of upbringing that I've had. Really, I think.
Do you think people have preconceived ideas about people from the northwest?
Yeah, maybe.
Especially when you move. I mean, especially doing what you do now. You travel a lot, moving around the UK, don't you? You must do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, perhaps a little bit. But do you know what? I think sometimes people use it as an excuse sometimes, when they're not where they quite want to be, and they'll go, oh, it's because I'm working class, or it's because I'm from this place, and it's all... Yeah. And I think it's not, because I think... I'm a firm believer, right, the cream rises to the top, do you know what I mean? And you're getting what you put out a little bit, like, most of the time. And if you're working hard, no one's going, I'm not giving it him because he speaks like that or because he's from Wigan. I think if you're good and you're working hard and people can see that your work ethic's good, I think it doesn't matter.
No. And some people have made a career on being chippy about being from the north and where they're from and sticking their heels in.
Yeah.
And that must take a lot of effort to carry that sort of baggage around with you. Going, oh no, this is this because I'm from a working class estate.
Yeah.
And my childhood was really hard. And then you come here with your Oxbridge education.
That's
it's like,
it.
just give it over.
I
Give
know.
over.
And do you know what? It's
boring.
It's so boring. And it's like, someone said to me, I was on a I was up at the Fringe last year and I did some interview on 5 Live, live from the Fringe or something. And then a woman said to me, Sarah Brett, lovely presenter on 5 Live, she said, how do you find, and it seems to be a go-to question when you go up to Edinburgh, how do you find being working class and being up here? How does that how do you find that? Because I heard another comedian say that it would be easier to come out as gay than working class or something, and I was like, that's the most preposterous statement I've ever heard. Do you know what I mean? Like, people aren't getting beat up around the world in different places in the world, in Russia, for being working class. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but I think it's just this thing of like, I'm so, because you know, it's you when I've got this thing of when you working class, like, you don't even go mention it. Proper people, like, you've not been brought up being told you're working class. You're just brought up, and you're just around kind of what you're around, and it's not. Your dad don't wake you up every morning and remind, hey, wake up, come on, you're working class, get to work. It's like it's just life, and it's not. I wasn't really exposed to, and yes, I am, but I'm not like. I think everyone wants this fairy tale of I've come from. You know, I had this bit about it once. Where I was talking about whenever someone. I find it so boring when people go, nobody believed in me. Everyone said I was going to fail. No, I wasn't supposed. And I always think, who have you been hanging around with? Who tells you that? Like, do you know what I mean? When I told people I was going to be a comedian, he was like, yeah, I can see that. You're quite funny, actually. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't hang around. Like, who's telling you you're going to... All the teachers told me that I was going to be nothing. I was like, teachers don't talk to kids like that. Do you know what I mean? No. Maybe back like years ago, but not now. Like, I've always found teachers quite supportive, and if I ever did get shit off teachers, I probably deserved it for being a little daydreamer.
Yeah, well, that was the same, you know. But I think some people wear that as some sort of badge of honour, and I just find it a little bit grating, and not just like in the acting industry. I do see it all over as well. Yeah,
I think if you, a lot of the people just don't mention it. You're like, you know, I've never done a thing of being. I'm so working, and it's not been. I went to Florida in 2002, maybe with my mum and dad, so can't complain, can I? And my dad made a joke that he was still playing it off till about last year, but yeah, it was a
great holiday.
Yeah, great holiday, yeah.
But they use it as a defence mechanism, I think.
Yes.
You know, when they get into those situations where they don't feel comfortable, they sort of dig deep and become more version of what they think they should be, or what they should project to those other people.
Yeah, totally. And don't forget, like, I think people, this whole thing of like, oh, middle class, and I was thinking, there's loads of working class knobheads. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of.
Well, there's just loads of knobheads, full stop.
Yeah, but it's funny though. It's I think as I've found as I've got further into this kind of industry and stuff that it's quite eye-opening to see, and I, not in a negative way or anything, just as an observation that, like, the middle class, what middle class is. Because I don't think until I started doing comedy in 2012, and I got into it, and then met people, I'd never met a single person who'd been privately educated in my life. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't. If you'd have asked me pre-2012 who's gone to private school, I'd have said, like, probably like the Prime Minister's kids. Like William and Harry, their cousins, and then like an handful of other people. And then the more you get into it, you go, oh, there's loads of people who have. And it doesn't mean you're doing the same job as them now, aren't I? Do you know what I mean? But it's not like, I don't know, I just find it odd. But I don't use it as a thing to kind of fuel me on anything. And I also don't use it as it doesn't annoy me. It's just more just purely an observation of going, oh, right.
I mean, I've never really thought about it that much, about the class, if there is a class divide in the stand-up comedy world. There doesn't, from the outset, there doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm probably people would have a go at me for saying it, because there is people who do you know, like, do you know what the big thing is with me now? I don't give a fucking shit, so I don't look into it that much. You know, like I'm not looking where, like, there's good comics I know who are working class who have done, like, wrote something in the Guardian about it, and they've give examples of how there is a little bit of bias and thingy. But I can't sit there and go, there's bias when I've been given certain opportunities I have been from my background. So I can't bang the drum that working class people are being ignored, because I've not been ignored. Do you know what I mean?
You haven't experienced. I suppose it's if you experience it firsthand. Otherwise, it just becomes hearsay or what somebody else experienced. And
if you're looking at comedians, like, look at the big earners or the top comedians, like John Bishop, Peter Kay, Kevin Bridges, Jason Manford. They're all working class people, aren't they? So you can't say they're ignored, because they're at the top.
Yeah.
So I don't know really.
While we're on this subject, thereabouts, I think we should sort of jump back while we're talking about like where we're from and all that. So should we talk about growing up?
Yeah,
So where were we?
Goulburn, which
is Wigan.
Wigan, yeah, Wigan Borough, Warrington postcode, a bit funny, but just near Wigan. Get on a bus get on the 600 outside my house, go to Wigan every weekend with my mates, swimming and walking around on the market, buying flipping DVDs and videos and stuff. Wigan was where I grew up. Goulburn, I went to school. And then I went to high school in Newton-le-Willows, which is like...
Yeah.
More, classed as Merseyside, but because I went to the Catholic primary school, I went to the Catholic high school. And I found that really, really good going, because I found it great that I had to get a bus to school, and there's a high school in Goulburn a lot of my mates went to. But it was good because I had all my mates in Goulburn. Then I went to this Catholic school in Newton-le-Willows, and I had all my mates in Newton. And then there was people who'd come from like Warrington, Culture, St Helens, Loughton, all them kind of. So I ended up with like loads of mates in loads of different areas. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, oh, do you want to go down, come to mine at the weekend? And you'd be in like Warrington or St Helens or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Or do you want to go for a day out in such a place? So I really enjoyed that kind of thing growing up there.
Was it religious background growing up?
No. It was just, I think, the school my dad went to.
Right.
And my nan goes to church, but, you know, like, I did my communion, I did, you know, I'm a Catholic on paper. But I'm not really, it's not my thing, that.
What did your mum and dad do, Chris?
My dad, both retired, actually, last year at the same time. There's only a month between them, so they both turned 60. My dad turned 60 2 days ago. And my dad's always been a mechanical engineer, worked for a long time in a toilet roll factory in Wigan. Worked loads, like loads of overtime and
it's real grafter.
Yeah, proper grafter. Like I forget about it now. Like you don't think now, but like you know when I bump into people who know my dad in the pub and stuff, and they're like, "God, is he still?" And it's like first question on the lips a lot of the time. God, he did so. He's always working. Your dad. Do you know what I mean? It was like that kind of thing of like. And when I say before, like, we went to Florida and all that, but my dad, like, we lived in a nice house. We lived in a 4-bedroom detached house in Goulburn, which is, you know, nice. But I remember it when we bought it, and it was a complete, you know, dive, and it was someone had done a shit extension on it, and my dad doing this house up for ages, and he just really kind of, I think he worked every hour under the sun, night shifts, and then staying on and doing so many in a row, and he was on. You know, that famous one when she dad's on nights, you know, all the time when we were younger. So, yeah, he really did. And I mean, like, spent his whole working life of like, on his knees fixing machines, work toilet. And it's like, and when it got to 60 and he was like, oh, mate, stop on. And I was like, you need to
stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what my dad did. And my mum was a civil servant, worked for the job centre.
Right.
I think final role. My mum, fucking hard worker as well. Really worked hard. And I think the final role she ended up doing there was like kind of, do you know when, say, like a new company or a business is having a big intake of staff, and then they'll allocate so many places to apprenticeships and so many places to other people, and then they look how many places are going to go through the job centre, and they're going to, you know what I mean? So she was kind of working with these companies. So it was, but you know, it wasn't. I don't think it was the most well-paid job in the world. Like, but she, as I say, can never remember him not working. I know my mum had a few years off when me and my brother was born, and she was like, you know, until we started primary school, I think, and then she went back to work, and then I can just never remember him not working really.
Yeah. Do you think those work ethics were passed down? Like,
certainly, yeah. You? Because, I can't. As I say, I've been working since I was 14, and I've never, 13 if you count my paper round, but yeah, and it was never a thing of like, you know, there was never a point of going like, it wasn't an option not having a job. Do you know what I mean? Not in a way where I was scared to, but it was just like, I just looked forward to going out and working, do you know, like I had a real kind of, you know, having your own money and being able to go and buy things for yourself. And, you know, even when I when I got a paper round and then started washing dishes in an Italian restaurant, me and my mate, were fucking crap. And
I know, but you get that sense of independence.
Yeah, it was great. Honestly,
it's all about.
Remember this shift we did at this Italian restaurant when we started, and we didn't know how much we were getting paid, and we went in at 5 o'clock and we worked till 1:30 in the morning, and we was only, I think I was 14 and my mate was 15, but we said we were both 15.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, this guy was paying us, this Italian bloke. He looked like something out of Goodfellas, and he was like, pulls this wad of cash out of his pocket, and he pulls like £20 out and gives it to me mate. And we were thinking, tenner each, get in, this is quality. Then he pulls out another 20, fucking 20 quid each. It's like, each. And we're like, we come out of there, and I remember skipping down the street, 20, and you look at it, it's like £2 something an hour. I was like, we was absolutely exhausted, 14 years old. But yeah, certainly, like, it was good. And I think, you know, my mum and dad really put that into me with work, and I wanted to work. It wasn't like a thing of like, hey, look at me, I'm working. And my granddad as well. Like, I always remember my granddad telling me he worked in kitchens when he was younger.
Yeah.
And I idolised my granddad. He had some real great stories and about he worked on on ships on the Queen Elizabeth II and stuff, and you know, like and I just always wanted to like get a job and like, you know, I'd be like, Granddad, I've got a job now, I'm working, I'm going to buy some stuff for this. Bought this for my wages, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A sense of like pride with it, really. And yeah, it was good. And, you know, like with school and stuff like that, I mean, when I went to school, I left school, I wasn't good at school.
In what way? Academically?
Yeah, no, it wasn't for me at all.
Did you just not get on with it? Or was it stuff like that? You know, sometimes you just go, this does not compute with me.
Yeah, no, I'm not good at being sat down and someone like, I don't like learning like by remembering something out of a book and then leaving that in your head and then copying that down on a piece of paper. I was telling someone the other week, and it was quite funny, really. It was on about doing an exam or something. I said, I don't think I've ever opened an exam paper when I was in school and looked at the first question and gone, yes, I know that. Do you know what I mean? I've always looked at the first one and then looked around and gone, fucking hell, what's going on here? Do you know?
And then you look at everybody else and they're like,
yeah.
How do they all know?
Yeah, I was shit. Like, I got in a bits of trouble, but only the kind of trouble where, I'm sure you hear this a lot with kind of these people who work with what we do and stuff, but it's just like, I was just like daft. I think that sums me up the most with what I was like in school. Daft. I enjoyed going. I had mates. You know what I mean? But I was just like the idiot. I like, you know, like PE, and we'd go out for PE, and I'd pull my shorts up so like I look like hot pants, or good at like doing impressions of teachers, or like doing impressions of people who were well harder than me when they weren't listening. Do you know what I mean? And just there for other people's entertainment, really.
So you're really playing up to that.
Yeah, like going in our music lesson and pressing demo on the keyboard, then singing over the top of it like I was on X Factor. I don't know, just stupid things like that. My brother was quite good at school. My brother's a teacher now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so it was kind of like he'd never had like a detention or anything like that in school all the way through, and then I started school. I think it was like first 3 weeks I got a detention, and I was like, shit, I don't think he's ever had one. He's only 2 years older than me. And then I think I wrote a letter of apology to the teacher, and I was like, she let me off. And then I was like, right, won't get a detention now for the next 5 years. And I think I got one like the day after, you know. It was just through being a fucking idiot, really.
Best laid plans.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you got a detention for? First one?
Oh, it will have definitely been talking when I shouldn't have been.
Answering back
a bit, yeah. But it was more just like being an idiot, just being a complete idiot, and that's just, do you know what I mean? Like, it must have been frustrating for teachers, because when I left school, I ended up with you know, they always used to say you get your 5 A star to C, and then you're sorted. You'll get, you know, you can do what you want. But I was working as a chef by this point, because I'd gone from washing up in one place to washing up in another to chefing, and I was like, I know what I'm doing. So
was that the outcome, that you wanted to be a chef?
Yeah, because I just got quite decent at it, because I'd been working in kitchens and been around kitchens, and I was like, I'd finish school and then I'd go and do a 5 finishing washing up, and then I told them I started peeling carrots, and then I started making salads, and next thing you know, I was doing starters. Then I was, so it just...
You really were working from the bottom up.
Yeah. And with school, so I got 3 GCS, I got 3 A to C, and then the rest of them was absolutely laughable. There was like 4 U's, a G. I didn't even know you could get a G, to be honest with you. And do you know when people say, "Oh, I was the clown at school," and they go, "But I went to university." I was like, I paid the price for it, mate. Do you know what I mean? With my results, and must have been frustrating in hindsight to see. I talked to my brother about this a bit when he talks about pupils, and he was like, because on paper you'd look at them results and you go, "You must be quite thick, you." Do you know what I mean? And I'm not. I'm just. I think my attention span isn't great.
Yeah.
You can't sit me near a window if there's PE going on outside, because I'll be like fucking dangling out or watching football. And then there was that classic one where I ended up in a lot of times in school with, right, I'm going to sit you right in front of me. The teacher would be on your own, so there'd be like the teacher's desk, and then I'd be right in front of him, just making eye contact. So it's like, literally like you're within like touching distance. You can't play up if you sat on your own within like 12 inch of me, and still that didn't work. And I remember once went to a parents' evening in year 11, and my mum and dad, they knew I wasn't good at school, but they give me the correct bollockings. But I think they knew that whatever they did, it wasn't going to make me like an A-star student. They were just like, just get through it, and then
we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
later.
and they knew my work ethic was quite good, because I was getting up and I was going to the work in the kitchens all the time. So they knew, all right, I might be missing my own work and my coursework, but at least you're doing work,
yeah.
Do you know? So I remember my mum taking me to parents' evening with her, because she said it's too embarrassing going on my own. She said when they stood there ripping, I want you to sit there at the side of me. And my mum is the loveliest woman alive. Like, she's like fucking Princess Diana or something. My mum, she's amazing, but she sat next to me, and I remember this perfectly. This English teacher going, as I said in his report, really. And I thought, shit. Now I knew this report had come, and I'd intercepted it from the postman, right? And I did it under this little thing where I had my chef's knives. Anyway, so she went, and then I thought, just please don't pick up on what he just said. Just carry on. And I can feel myself like burning. And she was like, "What report?" Oh. And I was like, "The report we sent home, his year 11 report." She was like, "I don't think I've received this." Now, a few years earlier, one of my reports had been sent to another pupil with the similar surname, and that gave me a bit of an excuse. I was like, "It'll been sent to her, won't it? Bloody Chloe Worthington again." That's what's gone on there. I got away with it. And then I was like, "Yes, I've got away with it." He sat there with a laptop in front of him, this teacher, and he goes, "Oh, well, I've got a copy of what it says here." Just put it round, and I'm like, "Oh, why have you done that?" And he goes like, and then this was a teacher who, as I'll tell you in a minute, did something kind of which really kind of had a knock-on effect with everything. And he said if he's missing 3 pieces of coursework now, and he was like, "I like Chris. I know he's a good lad, and he's fucking he's intelligent, he's bright, but he's an idiot, do you know?" And he's like, "If he does these 3 pieces of coursework, he will get GCSEs in English, because I know that he's clever enough and he's tuck in enough to pass the exams. I know he is. He's in the top set, and that was the only one I ever ended up in the top set for English. Don't know why. Maybe I was a bit better at that, or the creative writing kind of thing. Maybe I could just turn my hand to that a bit better. So my mum, anyway, went round this parents' evening, shamed to death, my mum anyway. She's like, "Right, you're going to have to do them 3 pieces of coursework. I'm not having you having fucking no GCSEs." So I was like, "Right, I'll do them." And then she kind of got on me back for them, and I did 3 pieces of coursework, did the exam, and I got 2 Bs in English.
Right.
So I passed that, just because that was the only one where someone was breathing down my neck and going, get that passed, do you know what I mean?
That's obviously what you needed for that.
Yeah, and there was going a bit further on from this, that same teacher, which is weird. Do you know your work experience? So I put down catering, right? And then it come up and they went, "There's a catering job. It's a dinner lady in a school." And I was like, fucking belting. They don't work long hours. My mates was working with like brickies and plasterers and like
up at 5.
Yeah. And they're proper getting the money's worth out of them. Do you know what I mean? Like in a freezing cold garage in bloody like Par or somewhere. So he was like, "Do you want to?" And I was like, "I'm going to be a dinner lady. This will be quality." And so I think I started at like 8:30. And I worked till about 1:15. It was brilliant. Like, it was shorter hours in school, and then I could do extra shifts at the pub where I was working in the kitchen. And then I was like, and then we went back in school. And part of our GCSE English module was I've talked about this in my first Edinburgh show, to do a speech in front of the class about what we'd done for our work experience. And I'd worked as a dinner lady for 2 weeks, right? So everyone's getting up and they were like, I was working in a hairdresser's and I was making cups of tea, and then I get up and everyone's like got these speeches written, obviously fucking me, not done any prep for this, but I thought, I'm just going to get up and tell the class about me being a 15-year-old male dinner lady.
Just wing it.
Yeah, winged it, right? Honest to God, and like I say in hindsight now, it was my first bloody stand-up gig, weren't it? Because I'm there talking about being a dinner lady at 15. The class are in stitches. And I'm just like, I'm like telling them the stories like, yeah, so we all used to sit around and talk about I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And I tried Marmite for the first time. And I had a similar haircut to one of them as well, because this woman, and I was like, and I said I had this hairnet on and tabard, and I said anyway, I can't even remember what I said, but the class, and then that same teacher, the English teacher, he went up to me and he was like, that was the best one I've ever seen anyone do that. He said, you had the class in the palm of your hand. He said, have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy? And I was like, yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? And then it was like one of them things where it just planted a seed in my head. Stand-up comedy somewhere around here. And then it was like, I'll try that one day. And obviously, I didn't, that was at 16. And it took,
but how incredible for a teacher to say that and plant that seed.
I know.
And go, yeah, this is something that you could do.
That story ended up being a routine in my first show, in my first Edinburgh show as well. Like that, the whole dinner lady work experience thing was done it on the bloody telly. Do you know what I mean? So it was crazy how it's gone full circle. But it took, obviously, I left school and then I was working as a chef. And then I did a 1 day a week at college, but then I jibbed that because.
What were you doing 1 day a week at college?
It was like an apprenticeship to get a qualification in being a chef.
Right. Okay.
But then I couldn't do the college. I just found I knew what I was doing. I knew how to be a chef. I didn't need to go to college. I didn't need to go and sit in Warrington Collegiate and sit in a classroom while people talked about stuff. So I spoke to the guys like, do you mind if I just do an extra shift and I'll just not get the qualification? I think my mum and dad weren't so keen on me. They would have rather me done that, but they kind of knew. And then I did the chefing a bit longer. And then
were you enjoying being a chef? Yeah,
it was good, but I did it from like 14, 15, 16... 17, I'd gone working in one place and another, then in a French restaurant in Warrington. And then by the time I was 17, I was falling out of love with it a bit because...
Why?
Because the hours you do when
you're 17
and all your mates are starting going out on the piss, and like you're like, is this what I want to do, or is this just because I can't do out else? Do you know what I mean? And
you're cleaning down at like midnight.
Yeah, and you know, it was like I'd kind of lost touch with a lot of my mates. I didn't have that core. I still had mates, but I didn't have they were all going to the pub and I wasn't part of that because obviously Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're the busiest shifts. Yeah. So that's when they're going out drinking. They're all at college. And there was a bit of a few moments at that point where I thought, shit, I have fucked it up here. You know, I didn't panic much, but I was like, yeah, they got the 5 GCSEs and they've gone. They can just enjoy being at college now and do a part-time job on a Saturday morning or something, and the mum won't give them any grief because they're getting a college. I'll be getting grief because I didn't have anything to fall back on, so
sure.
I couldn't really do it. So by the time I got to 17, I thought, right, I'm going to have to change things up a bit here. So I went working in a garden centre in the bistro during the day there. So that
still cooking.
Yeah, still cooking. And that freed up the evenings then, so it made it a bit more thingy. And then I started thinking, I don't even want to do the chefing anymore. I'm going to do something else. So then I thought I'll be a painter and decorator. I don't know where this idea came in my head from. Fucking painter and decorator. And then this sounds ridiculous, but then I did like a 3-day or 4-day a week course at college, and I started college, and I was doing this course and. For painting and decorating.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I was absolutely crap and I never had any desire to do it. But I think my dad, when I told my dad I was going to do it, he seemed like, he put a smile on his face if to go, my son's doing something hands-on. I think he probably knew I was fucking useless at stuff like that anyway. But he was like, I think I liked the reaction that he got from my dad. And he was like, all right, well, if you're going to quit chefing, Chris, you need another a skill or something practical to be able to do. So I went doing the painting and decorating. But by the time I got to college, I'm like 17 at this point. I'm working part-time in the garden centre doing my college thing, and I thought. I was like, I can't do. I'm shit. And not only was I shit at painting and decorating, I was scared of heights. So I don't know why I was going up a ladder. I was like, I can't go up a ladder, so I'm going to make one of these painters and decorators. I'd have probably done this room here. Can you see where you can paint up to there?
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to get someone else in for that. Do you know what I mean? If you can't see on the podcast, it's like 3/4 grey this room, and then the rest of it's been left white. So
it's a choice.
But yeah, but also on top of all of this, I approached college like I approached school. And people was coming to get this qualification, and there's people older than me, like in the 20s and stuff, and they wanted to get this thingy to go and be painters and decorators, and I was like, fucking class idiot again.
Yeah.
So it didn't work, and you don't expect that when you're in college, because it's optional college. You don't, and that's I got pulled by the tutors a few times. They're going, people don't behave like this in college, Chris, because it's optional. You behave like that in school because you have to be at school, but you can't come to college and be a fucking idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to behave like a fucking idiot, behave like an idiot in your own time at
go
home.
somewhere else.
Yeah, so I was like, right, okay. And then, as a mad turn of events, I don't know where this came from. I think I know where it came from, really, but postman popped in my head, right?
Right.
So I was like, I think I'd seen postman walking around in shorts with headphones in. I was like, that looks like a mint job, that. Headphones.
Wait a minute, let me interrupt. We're going back here now to the dinner lady, because dinner lady, half day. Postman,
Yeah.
Half day.
Exactly, and it was just like walking around in shorts, headphones in, fresh air, no one mithering you, no one on your back all day.
I've done a paper round. It can't be any easier.
Exactly. I was half decent at the paper round. I'll turn in the morning, and it was my first one of going, and then I'll be like getting decent money because it's Royal Mail, so they're going to pay an all right wage, aren't they? I just need to get my foot in the door, and I was like, I know I'd be good at a postman. And I don't know if you watched EastEnders, but have you seen the postman on that? I'd been watching EastEnders, and he only does Albert Square, and then sits in the cafe all day. So I was like, and I weren't lazy. I just thought, yeah.
You know that's not a documentary, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's what I realised when I started. First day, and they give me 7 bags of letters. I was like, fucking hell, it's not like this in EastEnders, is it? So then I applied for this job, postman. Warrington, 30-odd hours. I was like, went for the interview, did all right in the interview because I can talk. And I thought that went well. Got a phone call, didn't get it, gutted, absolutely gutted.
Did they tell you why you didn't get it?
Yeah, I think they said, no, I passed the interview, that was it.
Right.
But I didn't get the role, so they're going, you interviewed great, however, the role went to someone else, there was only one role, so you're on a waiting list now for if another job comes up. And this was in Warrington, this. And then I went on a fishing trip with my dad to Holland, and a few of his mates, and I'm waiting to go, and I'm still gutted about not getting. I found out actually in Holland that I hadn't got the postman job, and then we're waiting to go home, and I got a phone call as we were getting on the ferry, and it was like, there is another job come up. It's in Farnworth, and I was like, belting, I'll take it. Yes, definitely. I'll do it. Nice one.
Where's that, Chris? Geographically, from
Farnworth,
from Warrington to Farnworth.
This is what I'm going to explain now. Then I put the phone down, and I've just accepted this job. And then I went to my dad, where's Farnworth? I've just accepted a job there. I didn't have a fucking clue where it was.
Right.
It was in Bolton, so it wasn't too far. But It was a bit of a mooch, and it was only a 24-hour contract. So I started working as a postman in Farnworth, and it was decent, It was, and I started in June, so it was a nice time of year to be starting a job like that.
And what year is this now, Chris?
2007. This is
2007.
I'm 18 years old.
Right.
So 18 years old, doing that. Then I'm doing the overtime because I've got extra money, and I was blooming for it. And I was taking out extra rounds. And then this boss came from Wigan, and he was like, "Where do you live, you?" And I was like, "I live near Wigan." He was like, "Why didn't you get a transfer to Wigan?" I was like, "Oh shit, yeah. I mean, I'd love to. I didn't know how you go about doing that." So then I did the big money transfer to Wigan, and then and then that was 2008.
So you've been doing it a year?
Yeah, and then I transferred to Wigan, delivering in Ashton then, where my nan lives. So I'm popping around my nan's all the time, like making me dinner all the time when I'm working, and then working with a great bunch of people as well at Royal Mail. Such a good job of it was a good job for me because, do you know when I say messing about in school?
Yeah.
It felt like it felt like school because everyone's a fucking idiot at Royal Mail. Do you know what I mean? It's like a continuation from school, but you can get away with a bit more. Do you know what I mean?
And you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, and because they know that, all right, you're messing about a bit this morning, but by the time you've all bundled your letters up and got your bags on your back, you're out, and then you know, so as long as you're getting your work done and you're messing about, it's fine. So there's a real good laugh, some real funny characters who I work with who were just, yeah, it was a good place to be because you could have the crack with the lads, and then you got the fresh air, you got the overtime, and I was doing loads of overtime, earning, you know what I mean? I always thought, like, if I'm earning £250 a week, it's £1,000 a month. That's great.
Yeah. Are we still living at home at this point?
Yeah, still living with my mum till I was 21 when I moved out, and then that was it really. It was postman, and I did it 2007 to 2018.
Did you?
Yeah. So I stopped I left in January 2018 after the Edinburgh nomination.
So we need to just go back a bit. When did the realisation come to you? Even though the seed's already been planted years ago. When did you make the decision that you were going to try this? Right,
so what happened was, this is a bit of like two different stories. I had comedy in my head. I always had comedy. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest comedy fan, but I liked the Royal Family. I love Peter Kay, Phoenix Nights, Early Doors.
And more importantly, you obviously loved making people laugh.
Yeah. So I had this in my head, and then I had this idea, for a sitcom in my head. And I was like, and it was because we used to go to this bar where they did karaoke, and me and my mate the DJ was a tragic bastard. And me and my mate was like, he's like fucking like a sitcom character, him. And my mate liked sitcoms as well. And I was like, let's write something. I've missed out a big chunk of where I was in a band here.
All right, go back. It's fine. We jump around the timeline on this all the time.
Right, so should I tell you about when I was in a band?
Yeah.
Or not?
Well, whatever order you think we should.
Right. When I was at Royal Mail in 2007, I started a band with my mates called the U Beauties. It was with like three of my mates. So it's tattooed on my arm actually. But
was this as a hobby, or was this something that you thought?
No. So this is what I mean. My brain has always worked in this weird way, where the band thing, we were shit really. We gigged around Wigan and Preston and Liverpool, Manchester, you know, dry bar night and day and stuff like that. But I just had this thing. I remember listening to music. This sounds weird when I say this now. I remember thinking, how can you? There was this little bit in my head where I was thinking, how can you enjoy music if you're not trying to make music? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Do you know this weird thing of like, how can it? And it'd be like, I'd feel as though like, I'd feel guilty if you can't just enjoy it and not try and do it yourself. Do you know what I mean? And and then I didn't, in my head, obviously in hindsight, that's just a creative thing in your brain, isn't it? But at the time I remember thinking like, how would anyone just sit and listen to this and not give them that kind of hunger to be doing it themselves? And then me and my mate, and three of my mates, that classic thing of like, well, none of us can play anything, right? Well, I'm lead singer. You can be, and we could all play. I played a bit of guitar in high school and that, but I never. Do you know when people start bands, they always want to get dead good on guitar?
Yeah.
And then they start off by playing covers, then they do their own songs, and then so on and so forth. I never wanted to do any covers and I didn't really want to get good on guitar. I just wanted to get good enough to make my own songs. So there was never a thing of like, we'll do covers, because we weren't good enough to do covers. We were good enough to just play your power chords or your C, G, D, E. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll write some lyrics out about it, because this is at like 2000. If you're thinking about the time of this, when this is 2007, 2006, we've come up with this idea. It's when like Arctic Monkeys, Whatever People Say, album. So and that album really, for my age at that time, was like, you know, when you've probably been albums with yourselves where you feel like an album speaks to you and you're like, God, every song on that could be written about me. Do you know what I mean? And it was kind of a thing that was the one that made me want to be in a band. And it was like, he's like poetic, Alex Turner, with his lyrics. You know what I mean? And it was such like, you know, it's like, every lyric, he kind of like, I was in awe of it, and I thought I want to do something where I'm doing something where I'm putting my creative kind of brain to use, and I'm writing lyrics about, like, you know, and I say we were shit. I wasn't the best singer. We weren't the best musicians, but we had a bit of a sound, and people came and watched us, and they enjoyed it. And I think we could see we were enjoying ourselves. And and then when I was in this band, the three other lads who were in it, Spud, Chris, Kinter, Spud and Chris are going to be best men at my wedding next year. So
Right.
like real best mates as well. It became very apparent quite quickly that I was a bit of a fucking nutter really with it. I was fucking like, they were like, why is Washy like so full on? Why is he like a slave driver? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, we need to practice, right? 4 hours a time. Let's do 5 days. And I was like, let's just hit it hard. Like, because I said, we're in charge of this now. And it's like the exact opposite of what I was like in school, really. Of being, because it really gave me like this hunger of being like, we can be whatever we want to be if we work hard enough at this.
It's so interesting you say that, because I was thinking when you're listening to you talking then, and throughout everything we've spoken about so far, this is the most passion you've put into and detail that you've put into your words, and I can see that it obviously meant something to you at that time. It
really was. But my mates, I wouldn't say they didn't care about it, but they certainly didn't have that kind of drive. Spud maybe a bit, Chris not as much, Kinter had just come along for the ride and play drums, but all great lads. But I was like, right, I'll make us a website, I'll write this song, I'm writing lyrics, I'm staying up, right, I'm learning these chords. I've recorded this little demo bit on my phone. Let's book this place. We can't afford it. Right, I'll pay for everyone. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's where you get like, right, we'll run up a tab and then we'll just fucking we'll blag them and say that it isn't as much as it is when we get around to paying it. Do you know what I mean? All these little things, and then we started doing gigs, and it was like then we were playing like the Citadel Night and Day Dry Bar, and it was like this whole thing of I just know that it would have been a band where it was just. We played in a bedroom and it never got out of a bedroom if I hadn't have been behind it, the driving force. And I was like, right, but we weren't good enough really, and it got harder and harder as it went on, because it's not that we weren't good enough, we probably would have been all right, but my hunger for it was much further than anyone else's. And it would get to a point where I was shouting at him, I was falling out with my best mates, and I was like, you don't fucking give a shit about this. You're not bothered about this, and when we play and everyone's watching us and they're going, why are we not as good as the next band on? It'll be because you've not worked hard enough, and you've not worked hard enough, and you've not worked hard enough, and I'm working hard enough, so you lot better. And next thing you know, fucking one of them's left, haven't they? Because Washy's a nutter. And then it got to the thing where it became that we were going on, and we did it for like 2 or 3 years. And it just kind of went, I was like, yeah, it's not music, is it? Music isn't the one for me. I love music, but I'm lyrics and writing creatively possibly, but in terms of like singing and playing guitar, I'll never be good enough on guitar, because, you know, like most people, if they played guitar in a band, they'd have a guitar at their house, wouldn't they? And they'd pick up an acoustic if they went somewhere. I've not played a guitar in fucking 8 years or something, you know, or whenever. I just don't. I only played a guitar to be in a band, to do songs, to be in front of people, to create something. You know, it wasn't for a love of playing guitar; it was for a love of creating.
Yeah.
And
but at this point, you were still figuring out what it was, what the thing was, weren't you?
And the truth is that so now I'll go back to the sitcom thing. We're now at the sitcom thing. The band's finished, and I'm thinking, right. And I say to me, mate, let's do this sitcom. Let's write it. I don't know how to write a sitcom. No fucking idea. Bought a script book off Amazon, Phoenix Nights, and read through it, and I thought, I'll have a go at writing in that style on Word. And then my mate, same again really, started writing this sitcom with my mate, come up with a title, come up with a premise, come up with characters. I'm working on the post, I've got a little notebook in my pocket, I'm walking around my post round, coming up with character ideas. And then my mate who I'm writing it with, it's like, it becomes clear that, oh yeah, it was a funny idea to talk about in the pub and take the mick out of and talk about hypothetically writing a sitcom. But when it gets into it, and I come round to your flat when you're at uni in Liverpool, and I've drove thinking I've got work the next morning, and you can't take your eye off the telly when I'm trying to talk about a story arc, because after doing some research on the internet or something, and then I'm like, you don't give a shit, and I'm back to where I was with the band, and I'm like, this isn't, I can't, and then now it's becoming clear to you that I need to be on my own doing something.
I was about to
and I'm not fucking Justin Timberlake, so it's not going to be singing. And so then you can't just become a sitcom writer when people go to uni to do this, and it's very hard to get in as a writer when you've got nothing and no experience and you've not been around them kind of people.
Yeah.
So then I said to me mate, I was like, sorry if I'm going on a bit.
No, this is what it's all about, Chris.
But I was like, right, and I don't know why I said this, but I was like, you know what, bollocks to you. Well, not. I've got this thing of just being like, I'm like a secret bastard, me really. But
secret bastard.
That's what I always say to my agent, secret bastard. But and then I was like, right, I don't know why I said this to me mate, because I didn't know how to do it. But I was like, you know what, I'm jibbing that sitcom. I wasn't jibbing it. I was putting it on hold until I could get around to it on my own. But I can't. And it was my idea, to be fair. It was totally me. He was just agreed with me while I 12 pints in, talked in his ear about how good it would be as a sitcom.
And you kind of dragged him on for the ride anyway, didn't you?
Yeah, and then I said, you know what, mate, I'm jibbing that sitcom. I'm going to do stand-up. And he's like, oh, yeah? I was like, yeah, I'm going to do stand-up. He's like, all right, what are you going to do? I was like, I've got it all planned out. I'm going to do. I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. I didn't know how to be a stand-up. Didn't have a clue how to be a stand-up. Who do I know who's a stand-up? No one. Never met a stand-up before. Couldn't tell you anyone. You know, stand-ups are on the telly. Stand-ups are bloody Peter Kay and Frankie Boyle and them people on bloody, you know what I mean, Mock the Week and all that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, right. And then I just said this and I thought, right, fucking hell, I'm going to have to...
put money where my mouth is
now.
Yeah,
but I also didn't have a single clue how to do it. So then I'm going on holiday with my girlfriend to Egypt, right? And Becky's mad reader, loves reading. I read one book in my life, Ronnie O'Sullivan's autobiography. It took me about 10 years. I can't read. I find it really hard reading. I find it...
Because of your focus and concentration?
Maybe a bit, yeah. Maybe I'm just... I can't... Reading is like... I find it really difficult. I'm not like dyslexic or anything like that, but I'm just... Maybe my attention isn't there.
Yeah.
Like every time I turn a page, I'm like... If I'm sat next to Becky, I'm like, another one. Do you know what I mean? I want rewarding for it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, going back to school there, Chris, being put by the window and you're just looking out at people playing PA.
Totally, yeah. My brother was an absolute bookworm as well. He loved reading. And I remember like sitting in comic shops with him as a kid, and he'd be like just sat there next to Wallpaper Supplies in Wigan while he was going through, and he loved it. And Becky loves reading. And we're leaving the house to go to Egypt, and there's a book in my house. I don't know where it's come from, this book. It's Frankie Boyle, My Shit Life So Far. I was like, whose is this book? She's like, I don't know how that's ended up in here. Do you know when someone finds a book ends up in your house, and you're like, we've got a bookshelf, and Becky's got loads of books, so they fetched it from an aunt's, and it's been a cousin's or something. And I've gone, and when we're on holiday, if your girlfriend's a bookworm and reading all the time, and this is before the days where you had international roaming on your phone, so you could play on your phone, I'm just sat at the pool, like fucking bored stiff, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I'm going to read this book, and I think she's like, yeah, of course you are, all right. Then, so I start reading, we get there, and first day, I start reading Frankie Boyle, My Shit Life So Far, and you know when like, I read a page and I'm looking around for like, kind of, like gratification or something.
Yeah.
With that book, it just was like, I was like 30 pages in before I even thought about it. I was like,
you're just completely engrossed.
I've never read a book like this before. I've never been this interested in something before.
Yeah.
And then I was like, next thing you know, and I finished this book like 4 days into the holiday. And when I read Frankie Boyle's book, it was as though it all clicked. It was like, you can be a comedian. He's just a normal bloke who's had a go at doing comedy. And that's all I am. And I'm gonna do that. And it wasn't like, he's just a guy who was quite funny, and then he's gone and done some open mics. I was like, right, open mic, there we go. I'll do an open mic.
So the pennies dropped by reading that this could possibly be a viable career for you.
Or even just to have a go at it. Do you know what I mean? Not even, I wasn't thinking career at this point. I'm just more thinking, well, I can have a go at it. I could treat it like the band. I can just chuck myself into it and see what happens. And it was really like, I thought, right, I'm going to do that. And I had like a couple of stories where like, I remember like taking my dog to the vets, right? And I'd paid £100 for the dog as a rescue dog. Still got him now, our Oscar. And then he said it was going to cost £140 to fix him, and I was like, he's a write-off then, isn't he? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I remember telling my mate's mum this story, and we're at this do, and my mate's mum's having me going round telling all her friends this story. By this point, it's like, it's become less of a story, more of a routine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking on my sunbed in Egypt, bloody Sharm el Sheikh. I'm like, well, I'll just tell them that story about the dog, about fixing the dog myself when I got spray on plaster for his ear and I didn't take it in, and then I'll talk. I kind of compared the story in my head like of going to a car garage when you don't know anything about cars is the same as going to the vets. And I had this kind of thing in my head then, and I thought, and then I'll talk about being a postman, about all the times when blokes have answered the door with nothing on and stuff. So I had these two little ideas, and then I was like, right, I'm going to book a gig. And I said to Becky and Ollie, I'm going to book a gig. And I had this idea that you have to look like you know what you're on about in the vets. So I bought this like T-shirt with a big dog's face on it, and I thought I'll wear a jacket, and at the end of it, it'll be like an act out where I go in the vets, and I'm like, all right, pal, and it was like me talking like I'm in a garage. I was like, yeah, I can't even remember the bit, but I did that in my first Edinburgh show as well. Anyway, I bought this T-shirt, and I was like, Beck, I'm doing a gig, and then I found this forum, the Manchester Comedy Forum, and. And it was like, I found out that there's these things called gong shows at the Frog and Bucket.
For people who don't, I know what you're going to say, but for people who don't know what a gong show is, can you just explain what it is?
So it's where new comedians get up and they try and get to 5 minutes, and they give the audience, 3 people in the audience, a card, and if you get 3 cards, they gong you off and you can't complete your 5. If you get to the 5, you get to the end of the everyone who makes it to the 5 minutes, they play like Hallelujah at the end of it or something like that, I think it was. And then you all go up at the end, and whoever gets the biggest cheer from the audience wins the gong show that night. It's people say it's brutal, but I tell you what, you find out if you're funny or not at them, you know.
I bet.
So there was Preston Frog and Bucket and Manchester Frog and Bucket. So in my head, right, because I had this little driven creative thing. I don't know what I was thinking really, but I found this forum, and it was like, there's this comedy night in Tilsley where they put on a headliner, and they have like loads of newer comedians first. So I was like, right, I'll email him. I'll try and get a gig, this bloke. And I remember when we was in a band, right, we used to email for gigs, and it was very different, but we always used to put the subject as emails as something daft just to catch someone's attention.
Yeah.
Now, we always thought it was funny, me and Spud sending these emails, so it'd be like, fucking, I don't know, something absolutely like Mr. Blobby Gravy or so. I don't even know. Do you know, just something where you go, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I don't know why, what we were thinking. No one told us that. We just thought we thought we'd crack the system, but fucking idiots, really. So I've put as a subject in this email for my first stand-up gig, I remember the subject was, don't know where this came from, John Fashanu fancy dress costume, right? Now, why I've sent this to a fucking comedy promoter, I do not know. But anyway, I've sent this email to this promoter. And I'm blagging in the email here. I'm like, I've been thinking about stand-up for a while. I've got some bits and pieces. I want to work through some material. I was like, fucking, I've just got this story I've been telling at Spud's mum's party. I've got fuck all else. So then he comes back and he goes, yeah, do you want to come on next week? I was like, Jesus Christ, I didn't think you'd be like that quick. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, no, I'm still away next week, mate. We'll do the week after or sometime in the future, hoping that he'll go, yeah, come down in 3 months. And he goes, yeah, well, let's just do the week after then. And I was like, well, do you want it or not? Do you know what I mean? You've got to do it the week after. In 2 weeks now, you've got to go and do it. So then I booked that in. Then I also booked in the 2 gong shows.
At both Preston and Manchester?
Yes, I booked in 3 gigs, and I thought, if the first one goes shit, I can't run away because I've got to do 2 more. So I've got to give myself 3 chances to find out if I can do this.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, okay. So I booked 3 gigs in now. Then I've gone watching the gong show, and I was like, oh, God, these are all quite funny, and this is a bit brutal. Then I went watching one at the Ape and Apple in Manchester, and it was like an open comedy blue, and it's run for years, and it's very like sparse on numbers, but people getting up, and I was amazed by it because people were getting up and having a go, and you could tell they were new, and I thought, I'm as good as these, I think. I hope I am anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, and I saw like Brennan Reese, who's done this podcast, and he's become a mate, and I met him before he did stand-up, and I was like a funny audience member, but not like a heckling, just more like I was just really enjoying myself, and he'd get involved, and then he'd say something, and I'd say something funny. It kind of, you know, when hecklers say I was helping you out, I wasn't being a prick, but I was totally enjoying the moment and everything. Yeah. And I went and watched them, and then I was like, right, I went and did my first gig. And it was in Tilsley. Did 5 minutes in a pub in Tilsley for the guy who had done John Fashanu fancy dress costume to. He didn't mention that, thank God. But I told one of my best mates, Chris, who was in the band. The only person I told was Becky, Chris, and my mum. And my mum's response was, what if no one laughs? Now, that ain't because she didn't think I was funny. She's just worried that her little boy is going to feel like a fucking idiot. Do you know what I mean?
Did you have anybody come along to that first one?
Chris, who was in the band, drove me because I sunk about 5 pints before I went because I thought I'm going to have to just get levered and just have got. And then I remember like,
were you terrified?
Yeah, I was absolutely bricking it. And then I remember going like, why have I even agreed to this? And then I remember being stood near the Bandit in the pub and thinking, looking at the door and just going, there's only this one guy who knows, and Chris and Becky, my mum, but other than that, no one will ever find out that I had this stupid idea. I'm just going to leg it now. Not going to. And I thought, and I kind of just got this real. I was like battling in my own head of going like, yeah, but if you run off now, you're a wanker because you might be dead good at this. And going, yeah, but you might be. And I'm having this argument with me in my own head here.
Yeah.
And before you know it, it's time to go on. And I'm like, and then I do 5 minutes, and it goes all right, and I'm like. I'm buzzing, absolutely buzzing, like go home and I'm like working on the post the next day. I'm lying in bed and I'm a complete thing I've experienced since stand-up. But like, you know, like your brain feels like there's an elastic band around it when you're trying to sleep because it's like complete and utter like euphoria of just being like, this is like, what? This is me, this is what. And then I went and did the Gong Show and I thought, is this going to bring me back to down to earth? I did the Gong Show. So this was on a Tuesday, I did my first gig, 10th of July 2012. And then the following Monday, I do the Gong Show in Manchester.
Yeah.
Frog and Bucket, packed comedy club. Mates come down, do the same again, drink. Don't know what I'm doing. I fucking walk on stage. People are laughing before I get to the mic. Now I realise because I had my fucking coat on and my bag on. I'm like, because I don't know anything, I'm fucking walking on stage with my coat and bag. I'm like, no wonder they're fucking laughing before I get to the mic. So then I do that. I do the last 5 minutes. I get to the 5 minutes. Next thing you know, I win the Gong Show on my second gig. Third gig, Preston, Gong Show again. Last 5 minutes, win the Gong Show. So I've done 5 minutes, won the Gong Show, and I'm like, and then by this point, like the compere who's in Manchester or someone's, I've met a few people and they've gone, or I've seen a few more things, and and then that is it. I'm hooked. Then I'm absolutely hooked on this. I can't get away from it because this is everything. Kind of just felt like this is it. This is the one where. This is what it was all about. I'm feeling like, you know, I can't describe the feeling of kind of like it was just everything made sense. Like that, I felt sounds a bit cheesy, but like this is what I was. This is the creative part. This is what it should be going on because I've always been daft. I've always been funny. I've always been, you know, I've always enjoyed making people laugh. I've got a real kind of buzz from being a fucking idiot, and what's better than being an idiot and people loving you being an idiot? Do you know what I mean? Because that's the only thing I've ever been half decent at. And
you'd obviously never experienced that level of euphoria doing anything else because the way you speak about it now.
No, I'd never had a headache. I don't think. And I'm lying in bed. I'm like, Becky, I can't sleep. And I'm like, it's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm still thinking about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was like it was a crazy thing of being like, do you know, I can't describe it. And then I found out that I got speaking, and you meet people at gigs then, and you're an open spot, which is, for those of you that, it's like the new comedian who does 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you start going from like these Gong Shows to doing. Then suddenly I remember thinking, I've got to get 10 minutes now. I remember 5 minutes feeling like, imagine trying to make people laugh all the way through the adverts in Corrie. That's 5 minutes, isn't it? That's a long time, that. And then you go, imagine doubling that to 10. But then I managed to do it. And I never wrote anything. I still don't write. I don't write. I write notes in my phone, and then I just talk about... I've got like bullet points in my phone. I know the checkpoints I want to hit, but I want to come across as like that guy who's just... Well, it's not contrived. It's not really an act. It's just me telling you some funny stuff, really.
Yeah.
So it was never a case of, I'm going to sit at my laptop. I've tried doing that, but... It doesn't work. And anyway...
I suppose you've got to figure out what style works for you.
Yeah. And I think... And then it's just gone on, and then you get 10 minutes and you start meeting pro comics, and then suddenly someone goes, I'll give you 20 quid for doing 10 minutes. And you're like, I'm a paid comedian here. This is amazing. 20 quid. Where is it? Ipswich. No problem. See you there. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, because nothing... What's better than... I'm driving... Yeah, but... 20 quid I'm getting for this, do you know what I mean? And it went on, and this is 2012, And
you're still posting at the time, aren't you?
Still posting, yeah, and getting up. And then it went berserk, like as if... Not in a way where I was like, this is a thing where I have to tell the kind of how it ended up to where it is now, because it's quite interesting, really. But I just grafted. Like, I was doing the post all day and I was thinking of jokes, and then I would take a gig in fucking Timbuktu. And you know what's so ace is that my girlfriend never signed up for any of this. She had a boyfriend who was a postman who was home at 2:00 every day, to suddenly he's out 5 nights a week driving all over the country, spending his £281 Royal Mail wage on petrol to drive around the thingy when we're renting our first house, trying to save up to buy an house. Do you know what I mean? So it was really... But she was like, yeah, because she knew the passion, and I've always kind of known that there's something else. Do you know what I mean? Even when I was a postman, I'm not saying it's a bad job, but I knew there's something else. Do you know? I didn't know what that was, but there's something else. And I was like, right.
And she saw obviously how happy it made you as well.
Yeah, and then it was just 5 years of graft, and then it was like 2012, went to the Edinburgh Fringe and watched 2 shows, and I was like, I didn't know what the Edinburgh Fringe was. I didn't have a fucking clue what it was.
What did you watch, do you remember?
I watched Nick Helm, and I watched Danny McLaughlin, because I'd seen him compare the Preston Frog and Bucket. Then we got on the megabus home. I didn't know where anything was. I remember thinking, oh, well, it's all shut down now at 11 o'clock. I was just in the wrong part. I was sat on a fucking wall with my mate going, we'll get the megabus home. Didn't have a clue. Never heard of the Edinburgh Fringe.
Fringe doesn't close, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
My God.
So then, yeah, and it was just a case of, that was 2012, and then I've kind of looked at it every year as though my whole thing... a lot of people, I'm no unique case for this, but you go, every year I think, right, be better than, like, do something this year where you've surpassed last year. Do you know what I mean? And be like, right, if you got to 10 minutes, get up to 15 and start getting these 50 quid spots now. And suddenly I'm doing 50 quid for 15 minutes. And you're going, well, I'm a postman, 50 quid, that's like more or less a day's wage, that. And it's 15 minutes. This is fucking brilliant, this. Yeah. And I'm like, this is great. And then I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I've got 15 minutes, and then it's like the goal is 20. You want to get to 20 because then you can start getting booked. If you've got a decent 20, you can do the clubs. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to get in. You have to do your 10s and that first, and work for free, and go to London on the megabus and let someone see, and all that kind of stuff. But I thought, I'm up for it. There's nothing going to stop me doing this now. I'm going to do it.
But in a way, it's a bit like starting in the kitchen, washing pots, and then you graduate to peeling, and you just work your way up.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And it was years of, and I remember just like I'd taking gigs everywhere, and then suddenly he's like, you like that good open spot, that 10-minute spot, they go, yeah, he's a safe pair of hands to put on for free, and then suddenly you go from, we've got 15 minutes, you think you could do that? And you go, yeah, and then you end up like kind of graduating for each one, and then it's got to a point where all my mates was like, Brennan and that was going up to the Edinburgh Fringe doing stuff, but this is like 13, 14, Brennan started going up to the Fringe, and he'd become a mate by this point, Brennan. Yeah. I knew him a bit, and kind of, I remember looking and seeing the Fringe and kind of not really getting what it was. I thought people got paid for being there. Do you know, I didn't really get all that kind of stuff. Which I've found out since that you definitely do not get paid for being there. And then 15, I was doing 20s and stuff, and I was like, a lot of my mates had got agents and that, and I was like 15, I was like, I got invited to just do this like show on the Free Fringe where I did 10 minutes every day with a few other comics. It was put on by an agent in Manchester who was like kind of showcasing new talent, and I thought, well, that agent might sign me after this. Yeah. Do 10 minutes, and it was called Gag Reflex Presents was the agent, and then I went and did that. So I did a month at the Fringe, and I was around it all then, just 10 minutes a day. And I did another show in the morning for half an hour at midday, and I called it Chris Washington First Class, and it was just me practising doing a 20, but I had the room for half an hour. So I did a bit of blagging at the first, and I was like, you've just got to hone your 20 so you can go back and do it in the clubs. So I used that midday spot to try and get people. It was like a solo show, really, but people go up and do solo shows to prepare for their hour, but it wasn't really what I was doing. I just took this spot, and I did like 5 minutes of like, all right, yeah, this room's a shithole. 20-minute spot what I was going to do in the clubs, and then the last 5 minutes was an appeal video what I made about tipping your postman at Christmas, which was like this video where it was like bloody, what's it called? what's that song where I had it playing in the background? It was all these clips like, the higher you build your barriers.
Yeah.
And it was like me, and I was carrying an old woman across the road, which was my mate dressed as me nan, and then I was like stopping traffic, and then there was bits where I was like showing that I have like 15 Jaeger bombs, but I still get up for work, and it was all this kind of stuff. That's 5 minutes, so I've winged it. So I've gone like 20 minutes set, I'm honing that. Bit of blagging at the start, 5 minute at the end, couple of minute bucket speech. I've got half an hour.
Yeah.
And I did it. And then 15, that's what I did. I did the 10 minutes every day. The agent didn't sign me.
Were you changing that 10 minutes every day? Were you doing the same 10?
Because I had a 20, I could mix it up a little bit. I could dip in, and I had 20 minutes to choose from instead of 10, because that's a funny thing when you turn up when you're quite new and you go, what? And you see the pro comics going, what are they going for? What kind of, liking a bit of the rude stuff, and you know, I liking the shorter stuff, and like, right, okay, I'll bear that. And then I remember thinking, when people are doing this, well, fucking, what are they going for? I don't have anything else, so they just better go for this. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are they going for? Christ. So then 15 was done. Edinburgh. I've done a month in Edinburgh. I've kind of dipped my toe in, but I'm not done Edinburgh. I've just done 10 minutes and lived up there for a month. And stayed with some lads who I didn't know that well at the time, and they were nice lads. But I wasn't in and around it, didn't get an agent. I invited them to see me just to thingy, but I didn't get one. No one came. And then 16, I bought a house, carried on gigging hard. But that was 16 was a year where I was like, my mum got on my back at me at 16, and she was like, are you still loving the comedy? And I was like, yeah, but I bought this house and it was a wreck. So I was doing the house up all the time, and it kind of took a bit of a back seat, the comedy. Not loads, but my mum was like, and that was when my mum was like, you need to keep doing this, Chris. You don't let it slip. Don't let it, you know. And I was like, I'm not. She's like, you just don't seem as, and I think it was just, I don't know, maybe 15, going to Edinburgh, not getting an agent, 16, buying the house and the stress of buying a house and doing it all up. And I think July 16, I wasn't going to Edinburgh because I'd done it the year before. And then we'd bought the house and was doing all that for months and months. And it was just constant bloody, like, plasterboarding and arguing with my dad and, you know.
Yeah, well, it's just another thing to pile on. It just gives off headache.
And then a support slot came up for Jason Manford in Harrogate, and for one of his warm-up shows for his tour, and I knew the promoter, and I was still working. I was working 20s now, and I was getting like the £100 gigs and stuff, and I was doing all right. Wasn't anywhere near enough to leave the post, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the point where I could see it, but if I was being completely honest with myself, I probably wasn't that close to it. Then I supported Jason Manford, and that gave me a thing of like, I want this now. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is.
You felt that you wanted to sort of step up.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what I want, and I had a good gig, and I was like, that's it. It gave me July. It was just a few months, and it was like, it's back. Do you know what I mean? It's back now. Fucking hit it hard again. Like, go at Edinburgh next year. Your hour, do your hour, and people go. And there's this thing with Edinburgh where I've taught loads here, man. Sorry,
this is a podcast. This is what we want, Chris.
Right. So there's this thing with Edinburgh where people. I was very naive with a lot of things in terms of I didn't have an agent. I didn't know how a lot of the industry worked. I just knew I could make people laugh, and I was getting work off promoters.
Yeah.
But Edinburgh's a totally different ball game. Like,
in what respect?
Because people do the first hour, they kind of go up, they do a 40, and then they go up and they go up, and everyone who goes up and does their hour, or a lot of them doing, it's like your debut. There's so much pressure on it, and people go up with. Manage it like to. You don't do your debut hour. A lot of people, because they want to get that nomination for Newcomer, but I didn't really know about that. I knew Brennan had it, but I didn't. I was like, I just want to be up there and do this hour. And this hour, if I do an hour long show where I've got tickets with my name, or I've got a poster, and I've got a thingy, I've like surpassed so many expectations as that. Do you know what I mean? What I thought I would get out of this. That I don't need to worry about any kind of nomination or Newcomer thing or anything like that. And they go, like, an agent would talk, definitely, if I'd have had an agent in 17 when I went out with my debut hour, they'd have said, don't go up with an hour this year because you're not ready, because, you know, I didn't have PR, because I couldn't get PR. I heard what PR was, someone told me, I emailed 3 of them, I couldn't give the money away to get PR, do you know what I mean? Which is, PR, for anyone who doesn't, is basically, and I didn't know at this time was he's people who create the buzz about your show and get the reviewers in, and you know what I mean, and you get the articles, you know, when you see the.
Because there's so many shows.
Top 10 shows to see at the Fringe this year, and them lists come out in April, and you go in, them shows aren't even written. You've just got PR. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't know at the time, but anyway, so I've gone up and 17, and I've never stood on stage for an hour before. By the way, up until June 2017, some people start the previewing process a year before. They've done the 40 in Edinburgh, then they have to get the extra 20, and they've got a year to get that extra 20. We're in June now. Edinburgh's in August. I've never stood on stage for an hour before. I don't even know what I've got on this piece. These 12 bullet points even add up to an hour. I'm going to my first preview on June the 3rd in bloody, what's it called? It's somewhere near Halifax. Brighouse it was, actually.
Right.
I do my first preview there, and I'm going, this list of things on this piece of paper, I've got a title. I've registered it in the Fringe Guide. I've no agent. I've no nothing, but I'm going up there. I'm doing an hour. No one's, do you know what I mean? I've not got PR, but I won't have PR. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just guessing a lot of things now. I'm asking Brenner a bit of advice, but Brenner had an agent. Everyone who was doing the debut hours, they already have the list of people who were like the hot ones to think. And no one knew who I was. Yeah. So I'm doing this first preview, and it rolls in at an hour and 5, and I'm like, oh my God, I've done an hour on stage. What? And I'm back to that euphoric buzz again. My head's exploding on my pillow. I'm so happy.
How did it go?
Got laughs. I mean, sketchy, but like I've done an hour. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine that when I was trying to remember 5 minutes at Tilsley a few years ago. Now I've kept people's time for an hour. Wow. So, and there wasn't many people there. It wasn't the best setting, but you know, it worked. And I was like, and people sometimes do like 30 previews before Edinburgh. Do you know what I mean? And I couldn't get 30 previews. So I put a few on in Wigan, and I invited mates down, then I did the last one. And I think I did about 12 in the end. And I did 12, and I'd sent all these... I did 12 previews, and my show was called Dream Big, brackets, Within Reason. And it was basically... you've seen Edinburgh shows. There's a lot of people who they go, you need a hook, you need... And a lot of shows, they have real kind of hard-hitting messages. Yeah. And real kind of, you know, they're doing something or they're saying something really... And that's not why I started comedy. I started comedy to tell daft stories about...
Well, they draw things from their personal trauma of their life.
I didn't have it. I went to Florida, remember, 2002. Yeah. So what could I say? Life's been good. Life's good as a postman. I've got a great life, you know. And it's more... And the whole premise of it was just being about... enjoying where you're at and remembering where you're at. And like I talking about in the show, it was like I told the dinner lady story. I told about how I bought 12 cars in 12 years and never passed an MOT, and talked about being a no, I didn't even talk about being a postman. I chucked all my postman stuff out, and I was like, no, I'm going to write a show. I'm going to come up with a show. And I left all that postman material for another show. And it was people was like, you're going to do all your postman stuff? And I was like, nope, doing different stuff. Yeah. And that was a bit of like, wow, like usually people's first hour is just a combination of everything they've come up with and that. But I remember coming up with loads of stuff for this show. And like a story about me and my mate in a taxi rank when we nearly got fucking stoved in off this nutter and all this kind of stuff. There was no kind of, I didn't think there was the theme was basically just like, I'm happy with this. You know what I mean? Like Dream Big Within Reason was like, I've been totally like, do you know, I'm happy with like the little things, like, and I still am. And it's like there was a bit in it where about me and my mate, me and my cousin Martin, who's like awesome, who's like my brother really. But having this conversation, he's very good, very, very funny, much funnier than me. He's a gardener though, and he's very good at recognising when we're talking about something and just going, you should talk about that. Do you know what I mean? And we had this conversation one night after pissed and what have you, and we ended up like having. Do you know when people talk about? Imagine if you won the lottery and they're taking it in turns. Oh, I'd do this. Yeah. Oh, I'd do that. Oh, I'd do this. And we ended up having this conversation. It was totally like, imagine being on 500 quid a week. And we were like taking it in turns going, oh my God, you could have like a Domino's on a Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, and then he went, that's funny this, you know, like we're talking like this. You make a note of this. And it ended up being, and it was a real kind of bit for the show where people was like, he's just happy with his bit. And it was more about like, it's like meeting Becky and like, you know, going to, and she won a Hoover at work, and we were buzzing, like loads of just good stuff, and it's like funny and heartwarming and relatable, and it was genuine as fuck. Do you know what I mean? It was real. I wasn't going up there going, and I'm nothing against shows like that. If you're doing do whatever you want to do in Edinburgh. I'm not beating anyone down who does different stuff. Do you know what I mean? But that was my thing, and I didn't have the big message. I didn't have the big 40. What do you do at the 40-minute lull, as they say?
But again, you're finding your style. Like with what we're talking about the writing before, or the way that you approach it. This is how you're gonna.
Yeah, totally. And I went up, right? I went up with this show, first day of Edinburgh, checking my pre-sales. Now, bearing in mind, all my mate, like the lads of people I'm living with, everyone's got an agent who are doing these hours, and they've got promoters, so people looking after the ticket sales. They've got PR people. I didn't have anything. It was just me on my own, right? And I'm like, and I'd sold 13 for the first day, which was mega, because that's a pretty good number. I've got a show at 13 people. The room was only 50. And I've done loads of overtime at work, by the way, to be able to afford to do Edinburgh.
Right.
I've called, and I've done, going back it slightly, I've done this Edinburgh. I didn't have a choice because I've got the 3 weeks annual leave, and I may not have got that the next year. So it's shit or bust here. Do you know what I mean? Because I've pulled in so many favours to get these 3 weeks off. I've begged Dave at work, my boss. I'm like, please, Dave, I've worked extra shifts, so that person will work that half a week for me, and I've got the whole of the Edinburgh Fringe off. I have to do it here. This is it now. I'm not saying I have to. My only aim to go up there was to hopefully get an agent, which was like, that'd be great. Get good at comedy, get fucking good, and then give people a good show. Get a show where people are walking out going, you know what, I fucking enjoyed that. They were the aims. Nothing else in my mind, right? Nothing else. And other people will go up, and I'm not speaking out of turn when I say this, but when they have the agents, it's eyes on the prize for that nomination, because it creates like real kind of, you know, nomination. The Edinburgh Comedy Awards are huge. It's the biggest arts festival in the world, isn't it? And agents kind of like what they call, like, they incubate them, and then they go, right, now it's time to do your hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's all this real kind of structured path which someone's kind of, which is great. And it been, you know, I'm not calling anyone out who's got that, because that's what agents do, and they manage your career in a way where they're making the right choices for you at the right time. But I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I was really naive to a lot of that. So I go up, and I've not got my eyes on any kind of prize other than just do this show good, get numbers in, flyer it yourself and work really hard, pay a couple of other people, work your bollocks off, do it, right? And then I've got 13 in on the first day, everything, and the first show, and I go in, and it's fucking terrible. And I mean terrible. And I'm like, oh my God.
Just like zero laughs.
Yeah, 13 people had come. There was some kind of works due. They weren't knobheads. I lost my bottle a bit halfway through, but it went awfully. And I remember thinking after it, and this is a thing what I've noticed over the last few years, is that I've always thought my mental health was always pretty fucking sound, because I'm really, you know, like, I'm happy, chappy. I've got loads of mates. I've got loads of things, and I've realised the past few years that I go off the grid when something isn't right. I go completely like...
In what way?
Like, I fucking... Like, look at my phone, and it'd be like my mum ringing me. I'd never ignore a phone call from my mum in my life, and then I'll be like, look at it and go, oh, fucking put it down. Do you know what I mean? And it's like people asking, how's the first show gone? And you like, swipe off that.
Yeah,
and it's like, shut the curtains. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And it was that first day of being like... You know, like, what? It was a real kind of, what am I doing? Is it, maybe I've fluked it up to this point. Maybe I'm out of my depth there. Maybe this Edinburgh Fringe idea, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And it was like a real kind of, it went badly. And I'm not just being like, oh, you know, everyone goes, it weren't as bad as you think. It did. It went, you know, I got titters, but I'm like, I was all over the place, and I lost it. And I was like, and then I was out of touch with my mum and dad, and then, because they were buzzing for me to be up there, do you know, it was such a huge opportunity, do you know, to get this time off work. And then I told all my mates, and I've done these previews, and people come watch the previews, and they've laughed, and I got it to a point where it was like really good. And then I fucking got there, and I've been rubbish, and I'm shit, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm in bed, and I'm lying in the bed in the day, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And I'm, you know, my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm not being thingy. It didn't go how I wanted it to. I'll speak to you later. Do you know what I mean? That's all you're kind of getting from me at the moment, because I can't. If I talk to you, I'm gonna bloody. Do you know, I'm going to burst into tears.
You're going to crumble and you've got to get back on stage.
So then it was like, I really had to kind of just go like, and I told my mate, but also Edinburgh's, you're around all your mates, but everyone's got their own thing going on.
Yeah.
It's fucking lonely as hell up there, you know, like sometimes, like, because, yeah, you're around people, but everyone's primary concern is their show, because they've been working so hard for it for the rest of the year. And no matter what you say, that is it. So I'm like, and I remember, and I've never been like this before, I was like sat, and I thought, no, I'm still going to go out and have a beer tonight, and I'm back on it tomorrow. Give yourself a slap, wash your face. Do you know what I mean? Go at it again. This is a good show. I kind of got to. I'm fighting it in my own head. I'm fighting it. I'm going, you're not shit. You know, you back to this place, and I'm like, day 2,
and your confidence is going to take a battering, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is my first experience, my first hour in Edinburgh. We go again, right? And I was like, right, day 2, But that night I've gone out, and day 2 was a bit better, but not loads better, but couldn't have gone worse than day 1. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But numbers were low on day 2. I'm doing it to about 5 people. Maybe a few mates have come as well, and they gave me a bit of a boost. They were like, yeah, it's good. And one of my mates, Danny, he was like, maybe try that bit in, say that bit in the opposite way around. And just a couple of points, like, oh, yeah. But still, I was not fully in it. My head was a bit like West, and I've never been like this before, but I was sat around the table, and everyone's having a beer, and I love having a beer and sitting in a pub. It's like my favourite place to be, and everyone's in a conversation, and I'm having a beer in Edinburgh. It's day 1 or day 2, both days probably, because I thought I'm still going to go out, and because if I stay in, I'm going to drive myself insane here.
Yeah. Because
I don't know what this feeling is. I can't really deal with this. And then there's a conversation going on, and I've been in it for an hour, but if you ask me what they're talking about an hour later, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. My head is just somewhere else, you know. And I'm like, I can't describe, but nothing's going in. I'm not taking anything in here, and this is all alien to me. This, and I'm like, right, and I just dug in, and I just got going with it, and it kind of hit like 3rd and 4th. Started getting a bit better. Do you know, it's all peaks and troughs in Edinburgh, but then what happened was a real turning point. Is I'm having a beer, right? By this point, the show's been going 6 days, and I've fixed it, and I'm in an all right place, and I'm not feeling this thing where I can't be in conversations anymore. That's passed, and I've probably had one show where he's got pretty good laughs, and I'm like, yes, we're on now, we're off. And then I go for a beer, and we're sat in a circle, and I sit next to this guy called Carl Cooper. I don't know if you know him. He's a radio producer. I didn't know he was I knew him a bit because Brennan knows him, and he's done a bit of development stuff with Brennan. But I'm just sat next to a guy who's a producer, but I didn't know he was a producer. And I'm not that. I'm so naive, and I'm not even in a way where networking. I don't even know what the fuck it is. Do you know? I'm just having a beer, and I'm next to a bloke, and he smokes, and I smoke. We'll go out for a fag together, and I'll sit next to you. And if you sit next to me, I'm going to talk to you after a few about how much I love Arctic Monkeys. Right? That's what's going to happen. Right? So anyway, I'm chatting away, having a beer, talking about Arctic Monkeys, telling him about all these Alex Turner's a genius, not mentioning comedy. But then someone had said to me, I'd heard on something, keep a flyer in your back pocket when you're in Edinburgh, because if anyone asks you about your show, you give them a flyer. And I think I had some in my bag or something. Gone out for a fag, and he's gone, what are you doing up here? And I said, I'm doing my first hour. And he said, what's it called? And I said, I've got a flyer here. And I give him this flyer. And he goes, right, I'll come to that tomorrow. And I was like, belting, nice one. And I was like, I didn't know if he would or whatever, but, you know, he's...
because people say things up there,
yeah, and it wasn't like... do you know, like sometimes I've realised now, if you find out there's a producer in the room, people change the tone a little bit, and they'll be like, yeah, and I was just being like, just in around with him, and it was like, you know, so then what happened was he came to my show the next day, and he goes to me, and I don't know this about Carl at the time, but Carl's like he's a bit of like an encyclopedia of comedy. He's a very well-respected radio producer. Like, if he says something's decent, you're going to go and have a look at it. Do you know what I mean? That kind of character.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this about him. He's just a guy. And he came and he waited for me after the show, and I had a good show, and I could see him laughing when he was in it. And he went to me when I walked out, and, you know, I'm not saying that is the most perfect debut I've ever seen, but he said, what you've tried to do with that show, you've absolutely nailed it. And he went, have you had, like, the judges in and that? And I think I had the judge, and I thought they just came once, but I didn't know. With the Comedy Awards, the judges come back and back and back and back. I didn't know how many times or whatever. I said, yeah, I think they've been, but it was probably a shit show, so that's gone out the window. And he doesn't have any sway on that because he's not on the panel. And you can't really, like, it's really, like, you can give someone a nudge to go and watch that, do you know what I mean? And he said, all I'm going to do is, he said, if someone asks me what I've seen, like what I've enjoyed, I'm going to make sure yours is like one of the first ones on my lips. He said, because I really enjoyed that, mate. And he was so complimentary. And I was like buzzing around my mum. My mum's like buzzing her head off and all that. And the next thing you know, because I'm doing all my tickets and I'm looking at the online spreadsheet, which gets emailed to me every day, Comedy Awards judge comes like 2 days later. So I thought, oh, they've come again. Next thing, and then it's like, such Comedy Awards judge comes again. And it's like 4 days later. And I'm like, all right, that's weird. And then it's like, next day, 2 Comedy Awards judges come, and I'm thinking, this has been 4 times now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to tell anyone because I feel like a prick as well, because I don't want to go, hey, I'm in with a shout, because I'm not in with a shout, because all the people with agents are in with a shout.
Yeah.
I'm just going to fly under the radar. I've sent all these emails out to agents before the start of the Fringe, and a couple have got back to me, said they're going to try and get to me by the end of it when they've sorted out all their acts. But, you know, you just hope for the best, don't you?
Yeah.
And then it's like 5th Comedy Awards agents coming in. And this is so funny because it's hard getting punters in. So there's one day, I've got 3 Comedy Awards judges in here, and I've only sold 1 ticket. And I'm like, shit, this is going to be 3 judges here. And I'm like, so then I'm going out flyering every day. And because I say, like, and the people who I'm living with, I'm flyering teams because they've got promoters and stuff. And I'm going out fucking flyering my show every day, paying 2 people. Josh Jones, who's a top young comic now, and he's like smashing it, Simon off the curve and everything. He was flying from it. And then, like, they came again and again. And I was like, oh my God, this is... And I remember saying to Brennan, I was like... Because Brennan had got the nomination the year before, and I was like, I don't want to get my hopes up, Brennan, but, like, how many times did they come and watch you? Because, like, they've been, like, 6 times now. And he's like, I don't know, because I never found out, because someone else was doing that for me.
Right, okay, yeah, of course.
So he's like, but I think it's about, like, 6, 7, 8, do you know what I mean, around that. He said, you're definitely in the mix if they're coming back all the time. I was like, oh, God. And there was other people, and do you know when people are like, oh, there's buzz about your show? There was no buzz, really. The buzz was, like, just the awards panel. There weren't, like, everyone was talking about it, because I only had 1 review, and it was 3 stars. They were, like, dead nice, but they were just like, yeah, funny lad, whatever. And then... and then they came again and again. I remember.
So is this like 7 or 8 now?
Yes, 7 times. God. And then it's the day before the nominations, right? And it's 8, and they come, like, 2 of them again. And I'm like, this is like, and I think I've said to our Martin and like Beck, I'm like, I'm not edging my bets here, but I said they've been a fucking lot of times, and I'm like, and these nominations are major thing, like. You know, you can rhyme some of the list off before you go up there, because the people, you know what I mean, are in they know who's good, and no one, and anyway, it come that night before, and there's been this big industry party. I didn't have a ticket for it because I wasn't fucking on any list for anything, and my mates had a terrible Fringe. So my mate who I'm with, who's a very good mate of mine, we've gone away from the Fringe.
Yeah.
And he's sat in a pub crying his eyes out, right?
Oh, God.
Nothing comedy related, life related.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? I
thought it was affected to his show.
No, nothing to do with that. He just had a really tough time with a few things what had gone on. So I spent this night, the day before the nominations are announced, kind of like stroking my mate's head and buying him beers and being like, come on, mate, it's fine, we'll soon be home and everything will be, you know, we'll get... And everyone's at this industry party where everyone's kind of whispering in each other's ear who they think it's going to be. No one knows who, in fact, it is going to be. And then I'm walking back after my mates just fucking cried like a bastard for 3 hours. And walking down the hill, Greyfriars Bobby Hill, and you know the dog, what you rub for good luck. I walked down the bottom with my flats at the bottom. Then I thought, fuck it, and ran back up to the top and rubbed the dog's nose. I thought, you know what I mean? If anything's going to give us a bit of good luck, just give it a go. And then the next day, they announced it at 3 o'clock. And like Brennan told me, you get a phone call beforehand. I was living with Brennan, you see, in Edinburgh.
Right.
And he's like, you get a phone call beforehand. And I did, and I'd be lying if I said, because people say, was it unexpected? Yes, it was unexpected, but by this point, I do know they've been 8 times. So if you ask me, it's unexpected, but on this day, I'm thinking, please get this phone call, please. No agents have been, no, do you know what I mean? Nothing's happening. The awards people have come, but it's not really, you know, it's not really looking great. All I wanted was an agent. I've got a good show. I've not got an agent. If I get this, something might happen. And then fucking, I'm lying on my bed at 2:30 and my phone starts going. And I'm like, number I don't recognise. And I'm like, this is it. I'm like, oh my God. Phone. Hi, is that Chris? Yeah. It's such a Alistair from the Edinburgh Comedy Awards. Remember it perfectly. I was like, hiya mate. He's like, just letting you know, congratulations, you've been nominated for the best newcomer. And I put the phone down and I was like, I just fucking burst into tears.
Yeah.
Everything, I feel like crying now talking about it actually. And I burst into tears after I got off the phone. I remember ringing me dad. My mum and dad had been up seeing me a couple of days before, and I told them like they'd been to loads. And I was trying to explain to them, but they don't really get it. Do you know what I mean? Like what it is. I was like, it's pretty big. This, like, I think. And I remember ringing my mum, and my mum was like, "Oh my God, I can't concentrate. I'm going to have to leave work." And my mum left work early because she was too buzzing. Right. Then I ring my dad up, and my dad's like, "Oh, amazing, mate. Well done." But I don't think he. I'm not saying it's the biggest thing ever, but.
No, but it's your first Edinburgh. I think it's pretty big.
Yeah, and then I was saying and I remember saying to my dad, like I said, to explain this to you, Dad, I said, I can't say things. I said, this will change my life. This will change my life. This nomination, and he was like, I hope it does, mate. I hope it does. Told Brennan, and then I'm nominated. Next morning, you've got the press morning where you go for your picture taken and all that. Everyone goes with their agent, the PR, the thingy, right? So, because I know when that list came out, I had loads of support off like comics on the circuit and like loads of texts, and it was really like overwhelming, really, to be fair, because then my phone pings off like mad, and I'm like, agents, can we come and see you? Can we come and see you? Can we come and see you? Such a body, congratulations, and I'm like, oh, amazing. And then they were like, and then you're shortlisted. Then they were, and I know when this list comes out, everyone goes, such a body with that agent, such a body with that agent, such a body, and then they go, Chris Washington, who the fuck is Chris Washington? Do you know what I mean? And he was totally just out of nowhere. And people who, you know, they expected to get it. A few people who had great fringes, loads of 5-star reviews, didn't get on the list, and I only had 1 3-star review, so I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? And that's all really confidential, the judges' stuff. Yeah. So then I got all these emails and congratulations, and then the agent started coming, and then but by this point I can only describe it as the next morning is a press morning. I go to that, have my picture taken, and I'm like sat in the corner, and I better let someone know who I am, because they've got the PR people and the managers and all that kind of arm in arm, and I don't have a clue. I've walked
You're flying solo,
Banana Yazoo, bag of Monster Munch headphones in, looking like the cleaner about to start his shift. Do you know what I mean? So then I walk in, and then have my picture taken, meet these people. Then the awards people come back. In the meantime, I'm having loads of meetings with agents, but I've never been to meet, and I'm just running between these meetings, and people like, first question off them all was like, who the fuck are you? Do you know what I mean?
Where have you come from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the next day is the awards. Funny, because I was getting so many emails that they shortlist you, then they come back and watch your show and make a final decision. And the head of the Comedy Awards sent me an email. The awards people sent an email saying, can the head of the awards come, Nika Burns? Can you put a comp on for her, please? And I was that busy that I didn't even fucking respond to the email, and I missed that. so I was shortlisted, and then the head of the awards was coming to check if I was going to win the award, and I didn't reply to the email, and she didn't come.
She didn't come?
No, she didn't come, but I think other people come, like, they can't not come, but the head of the awards, I missed out on the email because my phone was just going ballistic, and it was overwhelming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Completely overwhelming, and like nothing I'd ever experienced before. Talk about that headache again. Christ, my head nearly fell off, right? And then. So the next day is the awards, but I didn't care about winning the award. Like, you know when people say, oh, I'm not bothered. I totally did not give a shit because I had every age, like, not every agent, but I had a nice bunch to pick from.
Yeah.
And I was like, my list at the beginning, I was like, that I'm in a dream scenario here. So whatever happens, I've fucking nailed it. Went to the awards next day, you get 10 tickets to take your team of people with you.
Right.
Lose my team. So I'm texting my mates from Wigan, do you want to come up to the comedy awards? I was like, no, mate. I was like, it's a free bar. Like, we're on our way now. We'll see you there in 3 hours. And then it was like, I'm at the comedy awards now with 2 scaffolders, a plaster, a lad who thinks the earth's flat, right? And then we're flipping, walking around the comedy awards, and I've invited other comics who I've been for pints with in Edinburgh. But them tickets usually are for your management, promoter, do you know, all that? And I didn't have any of that. So I'm here like... And then it's like, it's funny watching my mates and this. I'm like, don't make a tit of me here. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't make a fucking scene. Don't be loud. Don't, because these are the lads who you get chucked out of Weatherspoons with usually. Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly we're around like the head of Sky Comedy and bloody all them people and League of Gentlemen are on stage presenting the award and whatnot. Yeah. So, and it's funny watching my mates, like, they've all got, like, champagne flutes between their fingers, like champagne Wolverine. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's like... And then we're stood there, and it's like, and the best thing was with this story is like, I said, right, when they read the names out, like, do a bit, and I'm like saying to my mates, do a bit of a cheer, but don't go ballistic here because everyone will start looking at us, and I know how loud you are. I was like, yeah, watch, don't worry about it. Sound. And then you go, first up, best newcomer, the nominees are, and my name's read out first because it's alphabetical order and it's C off your first name. And then my mates go, hey. I was like, nice one, lads. Cheers. Fucking didn't show me up there. Played a blinder. Read the next lad's name out, who's with all his professional agent and all that. They're dangling from the... And I think, for God's sake, I brought the loudest lad in Wigan and told him to shut up. And then they announced it, I don't win. And honestly, do you know, like, when they're announcing something and you might get a feeling in your stomach because you want to win it?
Yeah.
I didn't even have that.
Yeah.
I was probably looking out the window when I wasn't bothered. I just saw League of Gentlemen read my name out, and then yeah, I didn't win. My mates were like, "Oh, do you think it's because we didn't cheer loud?" I said, "No, I don't think it's a clap off." You know what I mean? But yeah, and then
the thing is, Chris, no, you didn't win, but
you
went to Edinburgh
yeah.
with the show that, you know, that first night did not go well at all.
No.
It's like very small audiences, and your main objective to go up to Edinburgh was to go and get an agent, and everything surpassed what you wanted.
Do you know the funny thing was that when they announced it at 3 o'clock, I was checking my ticket sales and I'd sold 0 tickets, and then they announced it at 3 and I sold like 50 odd tickets at 3, and then I said, tell my mum on the phone, and she was like, well, when you go in there, tell them all to fuck off. I was like, I don't think it works like that, mum. Do you know what I mean? They didn't want you before, so they're not having you now. I was like, no. Unfortunately, mum, I can't really do that. But yeah, and then went back, had meetings, and people was like, I don't even know who or what, and I knew I got a vibe of who I wanted to be with, and it was a real dream scenario.
Yeah.
But then I went back Comedy Awards on the Saturday. I'm back in work on the Monday or the Tuesday because it was bank holiday. Walking around Wigan, and with all these people still, how you feeling? People was like to me, go and let them take you out for a meal in London and go and meet them all and get a vibe for it and stuff. And I thought, and my little doubt, little working, like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, of course.
That was like, but what if they all just change their mind and no one wants me? So I better just make a mind up quick and just tell the one I want to sign with. So I didn't do any of that more schmoozing and going to London. I just sent one an email like the next day after I got back, like, can I come and sign with you on Friday? And then I did do. And then I'm in bloody Oxford Street in London in an office where it's like Peter Kay, top of the tower, tour posters, and I'm in all glass walls, and I'm like, they're like telling me to come up with like a wish list of what I want to do with my career, and no one's laughing when I come out with things where I was like, I want to write scripted, I want to go to Australia, I want to do a show at the Pleasance next year, I want to be on telly, and they were like, yep. and then
these are all doable things.
they were all. You know what? The weirdest thing was that within 18 months, those 4 things happened. Do you know what I mean? So I got the Melbourne Comedy Festival 2019. No, I got Melbourne was the last one on that list. I recorded my first TV appearance was a bloody recording my hour-long show for BBC One, which went out on BBC Three first, but then got repeated on BBC One. Like most comics do the first telly appearance, and it's a 5-minute thing on Comedy Central. I was fucking an hour. I'd never been on telly before. I didn't have a clue what I was. Well, that's another world. I was bloody naive to when you turn up and like you start ironing your own shirt, and people are like, "What are you doing?" And then they're like, "Do you want us to go and get you some food?" And you've put a fucking packed lunch in your bag. Do you know what I mean? You're just like it was like, do you know, someone goes out and buys you food, and that was the moment when I got that thing of like. I found out about the live from the BBC, which was my stand-up special, which went out, and I quit. I decided to quit in January, but I'd done it for a few months because I still had this doubt of like, what if it doesn't? And I thought, but I have to go because I've got no annual leave left, and I've got to do the solo theatre in January. I've got no holidays left at work,
of course.
So I just thought, like, jump now and just go for it, and I quit. I left the job, caused a strike, but that's a story for another day. But yeah,
Chris, it was a decision that seems to be paying off.
Yeah.
Please don't change.
I'll try not to.
Chris, thank you so much for
Thanks
coming on.
Thanks a lot, man. Cheers.
Enjoy that?
Yeah, it was I think I talked for too long.
No, you didn't. It was brilliant.
Thanks a lot,
brilliant.
Man.
I loved it.
Another episode is done. What a joy. I told you, he's such a laugh, Chris. I'm really chuffed that he came on. Now, look, if you are going out during the Christmas weeks, the festive period, and you're going to see some stand-up comedians, right, and you see the name Chris Washington on the bill, go and see him. You will not be disappointed. I've seen him a couple of times, actually, and he's absolutely brilliant. Right, I'm going to go because I've got Christmas shopping to do, and I've still got this bloody cold, and you don't want to be hearing me drone on, do you? Look, but before you go, get your diary out for next year. That one, yeah. Okay. Skip to March. Right, March 29th. Write it down. The Two Shot Podcast, live, Sunday, March 29th. I think it's 8:00. We are live at the Birmingham Podcast Festival with loads of brilliant other podcasts. Come down, come see us, come say hello. We're going to get a big, big name to cheer on everybody at Birmingham. It's going to be a really fun night. Now, speaking of other podcasts, just before I go, I want to say a massive thank you to our friends Ben, Mark and Gemma from Skip to the End, who are leaving. They are signing off. They're going out on a high with a last brilliant episode. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. They're all great. But that's it. They're decided, enough's enough, and they don't want to let the quality go down. I understand that. It's a lot of work putting a podcast together. There's the recording, getting together, setting the dates, booking the guests, doing the editing, and the promotion. It takes a lot out. And they're going out on a high. So a massive, massive thank you to the brilliant Skip to the End. Have a brilliant last recording, guys, and we'll look forward to hearing it. So, on that note, until next week, I've been Craig Parkinson with a cold. He's been producer Griff, probably without one. And this has been the Two Shot Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we shall see you next week. Take care, stay safe, keep warm. The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.